Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bash on the Buttons. I am the man in charge, TJ Stevens, and of course, this week is week 3, the final week of Super WrestleMania for Super Nintendo, and we were a minute late today. I got to be real with you when we start the show, right? I like to be honest with you guys. I like to kind of plan my days and afternoons and midnights, especially being on rotating shift work and me being on midnights right now. I like to plan my afternoons and evenings so I can kind of do all the things I need to do in a row and then do everything on time so I'm not wasting a lot of time in between. So with that being said, I just rode the Peloton for 15 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was 15 minutes. I just rode the Peloton for an hour is what I meant to say. And, and then I was playing EA Sports PGA Tour Golf, the road to the Masters, getting ready for a possible new show here on the network. And then I had to take a shower because as soon as I'm done here, I got to go to work, right? So I get in the shower. Maybe this has happened to you before. Let's talk about it. Let's share to start the show. I'm in the shower and, the water hits me and I start to lather up my hair. And when you know it, out of nowhere, I got shit. So I had to hop out and pre-towel. Take care of that, hop back in. But here's what I forgot. I outsmarted myself. I turned the shower water to cold so I didn't waste the hot water while I was making boom boom. Well, then I finished. Now I'm in a hurry because I'm behind schedule. Hop back in the shower. It's still frigid. Almost died. And here we are. So, again, this is week 3 of Bash on the Buttons. And I had an idea coming into this show. In week 1, we talked production, sales, all those other things for this. Week 2, we kind of went over the booking of this time frame. So this game was released in March of 92, right around WrestleMania time. But one thing we haven't really talked about was how did we get here to WrestleMania 8 in March of 92. So what I want to do today is I want to go back to SummerSlam 91 because it's a goofy ass time in the WWF. So I want to go over SummerSlam 91, this Tuesday in Texas, Survivor Series 91, and how do we get to Royal Rumble 92? Now, all that is because Hogan, Undertaker, and Flair are in this weird storyline. It's trash, really, in retrospect. But a lot of it gets covered up because of the mesmerizing performance by Ric Flair, Bobby Heenan, and Gorilla Monsoon on the actual Royal Rumble show, Royal Rumble 92. So we're going to do that today. So let's go ahead and pull up our Super Nintendo, boom, and get ready to play the game. It is Friday the 13th, as Matthew Elvis Presley just reminded us. It's how Friday the 13th. I'm a horror movie fan. Love Friday the 13th. My favorite franchise. My daughter is 9, and she has grown to love Jason also. So I don't know if I would say I was a giant like, what was Jason? Was that Friday the 13th? Duh, we were just talking about it. But I was a big enough Jason fan. And listen, I'm a kid of the 80s, right? I was born in 85. And I remember how excited I was for Jason X, because it was kind of like the first Jason that came out when I was an adult. And brother, Jason, like, that movie was so bad. Like, me and my cousin David went, and we were just laughing the entire time in the theater about how ridiculous the deaths in that movie were. I would say really after probably, when Jason goes, what was that? Jason Goes to New York. I would say after that, they kind of lost the plot. Freddy versus Jason, I actually enjoyed. I didn't hate that. It was actually pretty good. Yeah, but Jason X, Jason in Space was also. I've never laughed so hard when they, the survivors. Spoiler alert: they're in the escape pod, right, leaving the spaceship, and you see the spaceship exploding, everything else in space, and as they're they have the view out the window showing the spaceship right blow up. You can see Jason just rocketing in space, no apparatus, no suit, right, for breathing. He's just a missile coming at the spaceship. They start to scream, and then like one of the spaceship commanders that you thought was dead for 45 minutes, I mean, Deion Sanders intercepts him at the door. It is so bad. But yes, I would say, so this is interesting. What would be my favorite horror movie franchise? I think Leprechaun's underrated. Now, unfortunately, Leprechaun also kind of jumped the shark after a while. I think when he went to space, I'm really, at any point when you're doing a horror franchise and you're like, I think the only place we can go left is space, it's probably just time to hang it up. I think I'm one of the few people that I actually liked the the Rob Zombie version of Halloween. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't. House of a Thousand Corpses is okay to me. Like, it's just gore for the sake of gore, which, Now, The Devil's Rejects, I love that movie. Devil's Rejects, nice job, Hulk, might be my all-around favorite horror movie. If you consider that a horror, would that be a horror movie or a slasher? I'm not really sure. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I put up there for shizzle. But oh yeah, you get it, $1 Million Man. But I would say Leprechaun's underrated. My favorite is probably franchise. I think I'm going to give Freddy the edge here. Old Fred Krug. I think I'm going to give him the edge for my favorite horror film franchise. And look, Michael Myers is not far behind either. Some of those Halloweens are fantastic, but again, after the fourth or fifth one, they lost the plot, and we just picked up the dub. And Ted DiBiase, hey TJ, why are you playing it on easy? Because I don't feel like getting aggravated. I'm trying to reduce the stress in my life. I'm looking up SummerSlam 1991. So hang in there for just a second on the old Wikipedias. Pro Wrestling Fandom, that'll work. Where is the card? I don't care about the payroll. There we go. All right. Let's start over. So going back to SummerSlam 91, I just ran over my headphone cord. Your opening match, listen to this. Actually, this was considered a throwaway 6-man tag match back in 1991. And listen to the talent in it. The British Bulldog, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the Texas Tornado beat Power and Glory and the Warlord. And they got 10, almost 11 minutes, so good for them. SummerSlam 91 was the Bret Hart Mr. Perfect Intercontinental title match, which, I don't know how you rank best Intercontinental title matches, but I think Bret and Perfect at SummerSlam 91 have to be up there. That match was phenomenal. Natural Disasters beat the Bushwhackers with Andre the Giant. Virgil beat Ted DiBiase to win the $1 Million championship. They gave Virgil 13 minutes on pay-per-view. Ouch. Boy. Legion of Doom beat the Nasty Boys in a no disqualification match to win the WWF Tag Team titles. IRS beat Greg Valentine in 7 minutes. And your main event, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior defeated Sergeant Slaughter, General Adnan, and Colonel Mustafa with their special guest referee, Sid Justice. So, let's start there with the main event. Actually, again, pretty decent undercard. for that SummerSlam. I don't hate it. Two, I mean, you got 2 tag matches with 4 legit tag teams, which and they snuck in Power and Glory, right? So I mean, I can't argue any of that. But the main event is interesting, and we might have to look up when was the next time Ultimate Warrior walked out, because Hogan and Warrior against, we'll call them the sympathizers because that's what they were. I mean, Adnan's actually legit, and Mustafa was also, to be fair. This is essentially their last rodeo as a triumvirate. Slaughter, by the time we get to WrestleMania 8, is babyface. So I don't remember exactly when he turned, but it wasn't too much longer after SummerSlam 91. But the principles at hand, challenging for the world title, which Hulk Hogan does hold here in SummerSlam 91, are not anywhere near that. Matter of fact, Undertaker's not on that card. So this Tuesday at Texas, and I'm going to verify that here in a minute, I believe was their next pay-per-view, and that's Hogan Undertaker. So let's go look at that as we just beat the shit out of Animal. He's a tag team wrestler. It's fine. SummerSlam 92 was the first pay-per-view to take place internationally. That's interesting. I think I knew that. I just don't think I ever put the two together. So let's look at this Tuesday in Texas, I believe is their next show. December 3rd, 91. Oh, no, so Survivor Series. Okay. So Survivor Series 91. We'll pull that card up. And we will pick 2 new combatants. Should we do a tag team match? Let's do a tag team match. I'm going to be I don't think I've been the Legion of Doom yet. So I'll be them. We're taking on Earthquake and Typhoon. So Survivor Series 91. Let me make sure this is the last big event. Yep. Okay. So how about this? In your dark matches, Chris Chavis. Don't know who that is. He would have gone to be Tatanka. So match 1 is the second longest match on the show, which is kind of crazy. 22, almost 23 minutes. And again, listen to the talent in this match. Ric Flair, the Mountie, Ted DiBiase, and the Warlord beat Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Virgil, and the British Bulldog. Now, granted, you could say 2 of these things aren't like the other, but I mean, for the most part, that match is pretty stacked. So you got Flair, Mountie, DiBiase, and the Warlord winning. The next match, Slaughter. So here you go. Slaughter's a babyface here. Slaughter, Duggan, and Tornado again. Slaughter, Duggan, Texas Tornado, and El Matador, beat Colonel Mustafa, the Berserker, Skinner, and Hercules. And then this is odd, your 4th match. John Stones grab it, dick, twist it. The old dick. God, I don't know why I just choked almost trying to say that. The 4th match on this card, by the way, how dare you? My mustache is much better. Undertaker beats Hulk Hogan for the WWF title. So this has to be when, right? This is when Flair stuck the chair in, right? Am I hallucinating that? Was that? Yeah. So that's when Flair sneaks the chair in. Undertaker tombstones Hogan on the chair for the win. Of course, then, Hogan, real life backstage, says Undertaker hurts him. And then until Undertaker watches the replay and catches that his head was a good half a foot away from the chair. What's happening here? And again, Hulk Hogan's full of shit. So nice, quick, clean tags. That's what you do here. So now you have Undertaker, Hogan, Flair in your world title picture. And one could make the argument, really, they're setting up Hogan, Flair. I think that Undertaker's just there. So I almost wonder if the initial plan was to have Hogan Flair non-title, right? Either at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, whatever the case is. And then you have Undertaker taking on, insert wrestler here for the world title, which, looking at the talent involved, one may preclude that it was going to be either Sid or Macho Man Randy Savage. Maybe an outside chance of Roddy Piper, but Piper went on to face Bret Hart at WrestleMania. No, I'm sorry. Is that right? Yeah, he went on to face Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8. So more than likely, it would have been Undertaker and either Sid or Randy Savage. But this is where it kind of gets convoluted. And we still have two more matches to go through here on the Survivor Series 91 card before we head to this Tuesday in Texas. So let's just go ahead and just beat the shit out of the natural disasters. Again, I don't know why. One of my favorite tag teams all time. And actually, I like Earthquake. That's probably why. Earthquake's one of my favorites. I think Earthquake is vastly underrated. When they talk about great big men, and rightfully so, they go Undertaker, they go, Andre, Diesel, Kevin Nash. And again, rightfully so. I'm not going to argue any of those things. But Earthquake, I put Earthquake right up there. A little less agility, but I think the effectiveness was the same as Yokozuna. But again, I think the Yokozuna storyline, timing of it, and the packaging of same is what makes the difference. Let's go ahead and get the dub here. This match is over. On his Mount Rushmore of wrestling games. And listen, I've said before, these Acclaim games. So again, it's this, Raw, what were the other Superstars? I think they snuck one in there. That kind of all look like this. They kind of get lumped together, and I don't think they get the credit they deserve. Let's face it, these Acclaim games are the beginning. That's just how it works. These are the beginning. You had games before this. You had King of the Ring for Nintendo, which I have NES. You had WCW Wrestling for NES, right? But really, this is when the wrestling video games became. I don't know if mainstream is necessarily the right word, but they started to get into the pop culture Rolodex for sure. So yeah, they probably would not, this game or any of these Acclaim era games make my Mount Rushmore, but I also understand their importance in the wrestling video game genealogy. So our last two Survivor Series matches from 91 are the Nasty Boys and the Beverly Brothers beat the Rockers and the Bushwhackers. This is the longest card on the show. They get 23 minutes. And then your main event, Big Boss Man and the Legion of Doom defeated IRS and the Natural Disasters in a 3-on-3 Survivor Series match. And now we're set up for this Tuesday in Texas, which I think back in the day, if Efren's here, he can lend his voice here. I think that Say by the Pod, I believe, covered this Tuesday in Texas. I don't think Filter Free ever did, which is bananas. Which, by the way, I hope you watched this past week as we did February 1994 on the old Drunken Pop. A lot of good information there. So let's see. Who should we be this time? Speaking of Sid Justice, let's go ahead and be Sid Justice. I got to hit the cough button. All right. Something hit me right in the back of the throat. I don't know what it was. So this Tuesday in Texas, we got, holy shit, there is 9 dark matches. The Harris brothers, how about that in 1991, beat Brian Costello and Brian Donahue. Sir Charles, or as you would later know him as Kama Mustafa or the Godfather, beat Dale Wolf. Chris Walker beat Brian Lee. Tatanka's back, but it's Chris Chavis. He beats J.W. Storm. Greg Valentine beat the Brooklyn Brawler. The Nasty Boys beat the Bushwhackers. The Legion of Doom beat the Rockers. They defended the tag team championship. The Legion of Doom then defended the titles against the Natural Disasters. And then Ric Flair beat Roddy Piper. So the matches that made the card, Bret Hart defended the Intercontinental title against Skinner. How's that for a trivia question? You could have given me all day. I never would have guessed that. By the way, we had the chance a while ago, it's been 2 or 3 years now, to interview Steve Kern on a show we did called Legends Lest We Thankless, which, by the way, is coming back. And thanks to Matthew Elvis Presley, we know our first subject is going to be the fallout of Royal Rumble 1994, which, because of him, I just watched Royal Rumble 94 and WrestleMania 10. And you know what? People can say whatever they want about business, how it was down in early 94, and it was. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But son of a bitch, there was some good things going on in WWF in 1994. Good stuff. Owen and Bret. I think Bret and Shawn and Razor takes all the credit, all the attention for their ladder matches. But to me, Bret and Owen is, in my opinion, the best storyline in 1994 is Bret and Owen. And also, I love that Shawn and Razor's what is happening here? Shawn and Razor's ladder match, WrestleMania 10, got 5 stars, as it should have. Owen and Bret got, I think it was 4 3/4, and the rationale was they would have gotten 5 if there wasn't already a 5-star match on this card. And now, we get multiple 6-star matches on every card because what the fuck. So you got Bret and Owen. You got, and what's great is, I don't know if they meant to do this, because you got to remember here in early 94, Owen, everyone knows what Owen is in the ring. Owen as a main event, or really a heel period, but especially a main event heel, nobody knew what Owen was capable of. And so you have Bret, Lex, and Yoko. They sneak in Owen. And because he beats Bret at WrestleMania 10, cleanly, by the way, steps into a victory role, you instantly make Owen Hart a main event guy. And you have Macho Man and Crush, which was just awful. Undertaker and Yokozuna, which is arguably one of the worst casket matches ever because of the finish. I don't remember seeing. Oh, you know what? Earthquake beat Adam Bomb in like 30 seconds. Sid, I believe, is gone. DiBiase's on commentary. Jake's gone. So you have Macho Man, Undertaker, Earthquake, and that's it from this game on that card 2 years later. So there's a lot. We're going to talk the fallout of that. Maybe what they could have done differently. I'll tell you this right now. Spoiler alert for that show, which, by the way, that is tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be covering that because, again, I'm on Midnights. I would have put the belt on Owen at SummerSlam. Fight me. I would have had Owen beat Bret in the cage match. Underhanded tactics. I would have had Owen retain at Survivor Series. I would have had Bret beat Owen for the title at Rumble 95. And then I would have had Diesel beat Bret at WrestleMania, what would that be, 11? That's what I would have done differently. Because again, I think the storyline with Brett and Owen was good. It got convoluted. Actually, it wasn't good. It was great. It got convoluted when Bob Backlund got thrown in. Not Bob Backlund's fault, by the way. I'm not even saying it was bad. I mean, crazy Bob Backlund was fantastic. You got this 45-year-old crazed shooter who attacks anyone and anything that moves. I mean, it was really good. I didn't even hate throwing in the towel at Survivor Series. I mean, it's kind of cheap, but I didn't hate it. But to me, where that's why I think Brett and Owen is not remembered more favorably as a story is you go right from Bob Backlund having a long and competitive match. Again, not saying it was wrong. I love the match. I thought it was entertaining. With Bret Hart. And then, what was it? 10 days later, he drops the belt to Diesel in 10 seconds at Madison Square Garden. Like, as soon as you say that and you announce that, like, to me, that whole Bret Owen story with Backlund it loses any momentum. And I understand you're trying to build Diesel. I get that. But man, I wouldn't have done it. But again, what do I know? I don't book. I've never been in a wrestling production meeting or a booking meeting or anything like that. But I don't know. I probably would have tried to find a different way to do it. I thought it took all the steam out of Brett and Owen. And we never really got a resolution with Brett and Owen. They would, on occasion, they would kind of, essentially when Brett didn't have anything to do, here comes Owen. And I think another underrated moment is Owen Hart winning King of the Ring 94. It's good. Very good. What else do we have in 94? Oh, we got this Tuesday in Texas. Shit. So let's do Macho Man. Let's be Undertaker. Oh, they're not going to let me drop on Hulk Hogan on his head. So Bret Hart defended the IC title against Skinner at this Tuesday in Texas. Randy Savage beat Jake Roberts in 6 minutes. That's wild. This has to be the wedding present snakebite thing. British Bulldog beat the Warlord in 12 minutes and 45 seconds. Repo Man and Ted DiBiase beat El Matador and Virgil. Holy Lord. And your main event, Hulk Hogan beat The Undertaker for the WWF title. And of course, somewhere around this, the world title gets stripped, and it's announced that it will go up for grabs for the Royal Rumble. There's interference here from Paul Bear. It backfires. Things like that. So it's ruled that the match isn't on the up and up. So now we're heading into Royal Rumble 92. Which again, and also by the way, this is the last event, I believe. Because I don't think they're on Royal Rumble 92, but I believe this is the last event that the Rockers appear on before they break up. Which, of course, again, one of the best heel turns ever. And again, there's no way, there's no possible way you can go through a creative process in a meeting or otherwise, and you write something or you put something together and you automatically know in your head, this is going to be like one of the things fans remember forever. But, dude, Sean turning on Jannetty is one of the greatest heel turns of all time. And then, of course, you got Ric Flair. And what I really like about Royal Rumble 92 is because the title was on the line, it actually, that one thing alone built several storylines within the match, which sometimes it hasn't happened a ton, but there's been Royal Rumbles where you're just like, well, actually 94 is a great example. There's just a bunch of dudes in it. Like, there's no real storyline going on other than until you get to Bret and Luger. That's the story. Everything else is just there. Which, by the way, Greg Valentine's in Royal Rumble 94. I don't know why. I forgot he was in the WWF 1994. So again, I think all of those things, and the Star Power Rumble 92 helps also. All of those reasons is why Royal Rumble 92 was so fondly remembered just for the match. It's an underrated card. The whole card's really good. Oh, so we all she wrote. So Royal Rumble 92, Knickerbocker Arena in New York, 17,000 peeps. So you got Chris Walker beat the Brooklyn Brawler in the dark match. The New Foundation, Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart, beat the Orient Express. Roddy Piper beat the Mountie in 5 minutes for the Intercontinental title. The Beverly Brothers beat the Bushwhackers in 15 minutes with Jameson. The Natural Disasters beat the Legion of Doom by countout, but they, of course, did not win the tag titles. And in an hour and 2 minutes, Ric Flair beat Sid Justice to win the WWF title in the Royal Rumble match. And here are your, let me pick someone here. You know what? We haven't an earthquake yet. We got Bulldog came in at 1, then DiBiase, Ric Flair's at 3. 5 eliminations, which other than Sid led the bunch. Jerry Saggs, Haku, Shawn Michaels, Tito Santana, the Barbarian, Texas Tornado, Repo Man, Greg Valentine, Nikolai Volkov, Big Boss Man, which, by the way, here's this for a trivia question. Repo Man had 2 eliminations, and it was 11 and 12, Valentine and Nikolai Volkov. Big Boss Man, Hercules, Roddy Piper, who was 34 minutes, Jake Roberts, Jim Duggan, IRS, who lasted 27 minutes, Undertaker, Randy Savage, the Berserker, Virgil, Colonel Mustafa, Rick Martel, Hulk Hogan, 4 eliminations, Skinner, Sergeant Slaughter, Sid Justice, and the Warlord is your 30. And I believe because of this Royal Rumble is when the rule started that if you jump out of the ring, you eliminate yourself. Because, of course, Randy Savage jumped over the top rope to get at Jake Roberts. And it's weird. It's really weird because I remember vividly. Now, I'm not saying I watched it at the time because I didn't, but watching it later, what stuck out to me is if you go back and watch that spot, the Royal Rumble 92, where Savage jumps over the top rope and gets at Jake, Undertaker follows him. Now, he goes under the bottom, but Undertaker is following Savage, and he's literally pulling Savage by the hair, like, come back to the ring. And I don't mean like in a working way, like a, hey, douchebag, I need you to get back in the ring, until the referees just make the Undertaker go back in. It's bizarre. Darren Staley says he's playing online poker, but when I saw your feed, I decided that I would listen and watch you as I play. Thank you, Darren. That's why Darren is my main man. And then, of course, you get Royal Rumble 92. You get then, but again, Royal Rumble 92 to me, probably still the best all-around Royal Rumble ever. It's not my favorite match of Royal Rumble history. That would be Royal Rumble 2000, Cactus Jack and Triple H in the street fight. But you have this great Royal Rumble card and match itself, and then you just book it into the toilet. You know, how do we go from Hogan and Flair to Hogan, Sid Justice, and more on that in a minute, and Randy Savage and Flair? Now, granted, Randy Savage and Flair are going to have a better in-ring match 10 times out of 10. No one's going to argue that. But everyone wanted to see Hogan Flair. The King of the North versus the King of the South. And what I don't understand, I'll never understand, is they said the reason why they didn't do it is because they did it in the house shows and it didn't draw. I don't understand how that's possible, for one. And it might be true. I don't know. I wasn't there. But even if it's not, or even if it is true, you still have to have the match just to say you did it. You're like, hey, you guys, a lot of the fans were very vocal and they said they wanted Hogan and Flair. We gave it to you. Don't hope on seeing it again because it didn't draw. The winner of Royal Rumble didn't start going to WrestleMania until 90. That is correct. Until 93, but still Hogan won 90-91 and was in main event both WrestleManias, Flair 92, co-main event WrestleMania. So technically, you could say it started in 90. Well, the reason why it started way back in 90 was because Hogan, I think at Royal Rumble 90, Hogan was the champion, which is bizarre. And then 91, that would have been the title match was Slaughter and Warrior, which actually, again, for just the storylines and the matches, Royal Rumble 91 is for me right behind 92. The crisscrossing with Hogan and Warrior was weird, but no, that was 90. Never mind. But no, 90. I do like 91. Just for Warrior and Slaughter and Randy Savage interfering, and love it. Big fan. Yeah, I think that's why, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's why WrestleMania 8 kind of flopped. Is not only did people not get the match they wanted with Hogan Flair, but there was a very key loud indicator at Royal Rumble 92. The crowd was ready to boo Hogan. They were ready for Hogan to turn. And instead of pulling the trigger, they turned Sid. And God bless the WWF. Every time they tried to turn Sid heel, they failed. The crowd turned Sid babyface. But, I think, and again, I understand this is armchair quarterback and all that stuff. I get it. But I think, if you did, imagine 1992 with the cast of characters with a heel Hogan. I have no idea what a heel Hogan looks like in 1992. No clue. But I think a heel Hogan and a babyface Sid, because then you can go right back to Hogan Savage. You can do it again. And be like, you know what? Yeah, I was trying to bang Elizabeth. You can just lean into it. You could have done Hogan Piper again to switch roles. So many options. Hogan Warrior. Let's see. Just to be in your bonnet, have you noticed that on these old school games, the rollouts, when the wrestler rolls out in the ring, is so similar over like a decade? No, I haven't noticed that. By the way, Darren, NES Pro Wrestling's next week. More on that later. Warrior was champion 90. That's correct. Was he? No, he wasn't champion 90. That was Hogan Warrior. That's WrestleMania 6. Hogan was champion. Warrior was the Intercontinental champion. Let's see. When did Hogan win the title that... Oh, it's when he beat Savage, the year before WrestleMania 5. I got to get this comment down. Okay, you corrected yourself. I'm sorry. Savage was champion night. Was he? No, he lost the belt at 90 or at WrestleMania 5. And I just folded 57 off. So I don't know what that means. Savage was champ in 90. Hogan wins Royal Rumble 91. Warrior was champ. Not right. The 92. The belt was, it was vacant in 92. 91 was Slaughter. Oh, I'm sorry, was Warrior. He loses it to Slaughter. 90 was Hogan as they set up Hogan Warrior. Hogan got the belt back at WrestleMania 5 when we beat Savage, which, by the way, giant mistake. Savage should have gone over at 5. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. What was, now I'm trying to remember, what was SummerSlam 92? Oh, wait, I'm DiBiase. I thought it was Hawk. SummerSlam 92. Was that, man, I'm having a hard time remembering what SummerSlam 92 was. Was that Flair Brett? I have no idea. That's crazy. I also keep forgetting I'm Ted DiBiase, so I'm just kicking my own ass. And then you go into Rumble 93. Again, arguably one of the best. I'm not in the frame on the vertical, sorry. One of the best build-up jobs in a hurry the WWF has ever done is Yokozuna winning. I'm going to lose. Winning the Rumble in 93. And it instantly credible as you go Yoko Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9. So Survivor Series 92. WrestleMania 8, my lord. So, okay, Undertaker Kamala was the casket match. Okay. Legion of Doom beat Money Inc. in 15 minutes. Nails beat Virgil in 4 minutes. Yikes. Rick Martel and Shawn Michaels draw in a double countout. Natural Disasters defend the WWF Tag Team titles against the Beverly Brothers in 10 minutes. Crush defeated the Repo Man in 5 minutes. Ultimate Warrior beat Randy Savage for the WWF title in 28 minutes. Oh, so okay, that's setting up WrestleMania. No. Oh, I'm stupid. This is SummerSlam. I knew it was SummerSlam 92 was. God, I'm dumb. Undertaker defeated Kamala in a singles match. Tatanka in a dark match, and just randomly beat the Berserker in 5 minutes. In your main event, British Bulldog beats Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title. Man, I don't know why I brain farted that so bad. I can discuss wrestling in a semi-educated manner for things happening in 83 to 90 and 96 to 98. Anything outside of that, I'm pretty dumb. Brother, same. But see, I started watching in 89. And I didn't take a break until 2003. So, 89, and even before that, because I've gone back and I've read, well, you can see my library behind me. I've read an absurd amount of books. And actually, there's more books I have that you can't see. They're in the cabinet. Same amount of books, business books, beautiful books. I didn't mean to do that. So I can go back further. But like Oath, I didn't come back full time until I think late 08, early 09. So literally 03 to 08. I have no idea what happened. It's the only era, for whatever reason, I have just never brought myself to watch. Not for any specific reason. I just haven't watched it. But meanwhile, I could go back and watch Royal Rumble 94 as bad as it is every day. Well, that's probably exaggerating, but I mean, probably once a week. You know, if you told me you had to watch a different Royal Rumble from 88 to 2000 every day, I'd be thrilled. So yeah, me and you were in the same boat then. 03 to 08. I went to WrestleMania 19, and I went in the Air Force the next year, so the summer of 04. But I'd already stopped kind of watching after I went to WrestleMania 19. Not because by the way, I loved WrestleMania 19. It's still in my top 3 WrestleManias ever for sentimental reasons. And it's just like once you go to a WrestleMania, especially back then, and again, I'll be one of those guys. To me, when WrestleMania, I did it again. Sorry, I'm get back in frame. I just keep wandering out of frame. I think when WrestleMania was one night, and they actually spent time, and you had star power in the main events like Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, WrestleMania meant more. Like to me, WrestleMania now is another show. It's just two nights. My opinion. Could be wrong. And again, they're doing great business. I can't argue that. But when you go to that kind of a show, and again, I think WrestleMania 19 is vastly underrated. It's in my top 3, but again, I understand it's for sentimental reasons. And it's Undertaker's worst WrestleMania match by far. Well, actually, it's not. It's one of the worst ones. I forgot about John Gonzalez and King Kong Bundy. But like once you do that and you have that sort of interaction with the crowd and you have that high, it's really hard to beat it just watching TV after that. So that was my first ever wrestling live show, was WrestleMania 19. And I didn't go to another live show until 2012. I think my first one back was the Raw after Paul Bearer died and CM Punk stole the urn. So I've gotten real lucky with some of the events I've chosen to go to. I've been to a ton since. You know, I've been to Extreme Rules in Chicago. The main event was John Cena and Rusev. Or not Chicago, but Rosemont. I've been to a few shows at Rosemont. What's odd is I've never been. Actually, I almost lied. So I went to SummerSlam in Cleveland with my longtime close personal friend Mike Kolb. And we also went to the SmackDown before in Cleveland. Uh-oh. Get! Oh, we snuck one out. Look at us. Jake Snake Roberts getting it done. So I'm an Air Force vet suspect. Listen. First of all, how dare you? Second of all, yes. Sid Justice. We're going to take on Jake. It's really interesting that Sid is a babyface in this game. Now, again, I understand when this game was being produced, he was a babyface. But when this game came out, he was not. It's so odd. Sid looked the way he did. And here's the thing. Everywhere Sid went, he got over. Like now. You know, he goes to WCW. He joins the Twin Towers with Danny Spivey. And those fans could have given a flat shit about Danny Spivey, but my God, they were into some Sid. They instantly make him a star. He goes to WWE and becomes Sid Justice. Crowd eats him up. He gets into a storyline tangle with Hogan at Royal Rumble. The crowd says, hey, no, we like Sid. We want to boo Hulk Hogan. And the WWF said, no, you don't. It's actually the other way. And, you know, and again, I think, my opinion is going back and seeing how everything kind of shook out from 92 and beyond. I think a part of the reason that wrestling went on a downward slope in the early 90s, 92, 93, 94, was because they never changed Hogan. Never, like, Hogan of 93 is the same Hogan from 84. Absolutely nothing changed, other than he got a little bit more bald. Oh, Jake Roberts is putting on a clinic right now. So it's interesting to think, what does 1992 look like if Hulk Hogan turns heel? And you get a Hulk Hogan babyface Sid. Uh-oh. That did not. For one, I didn't mean to do that. Can I, what is Jake doing? He could have just beat me. What? Get down, you goof. Okay. We have just lost control. Dropping the elbow. I don't know if Jake Roberts ever went to the top rope. Pretty sure he did not. I know I'm alone on this, but WrestleMania 4 holds a special place in my fandom as a kid. Halfway through knowing Hogan wasn't going to be champ, I was destroyed, curious, excited, sad, mad. I was lost in the show. WrestleMania 4 is absolutely one of my top 3 WrestleMania favorites. I love 4. I love the tournament. And I think the reason why I do is because Ted DiBiase and Randy Savage got showcased. And you get to see in real time the making of Macho Man Randy Savage. And also, like, to me, 1987, 88, and 89 is peak Macho Man Randy Savage. He was never better than in those 3 years ever, until maybe 97 when he was feuding with DDP. And, looking back on it now, that was kind of, Macho Man's kind of last hurrah in wrestling. It's just the last great storyline he was involved in was him and DDP. But I love WrestleMania 4. For me, it's 19, 4, and which one would I put up there too? Um, 13. But here's where it gets hard. Is the teens are hard to place. Everyone remembers 13 for Brett and Shawn. I'm sorry, for Brett and Austin. The rest of that show is not good. 14. Everyone remembers Shawn and Austin. The rest of that show is not great. I mean, you got Undertaker. No, wait, that was 15, right? No, Undertaker King was 14. WrestleMania 15 was the first Austin Rock. It was that show was okay. WrestleMania 2000, I don't think gets its fair share. I think it doesn't get its fair due. And I think the reasoning is because they went to Foley, Rock, Triple H, Big Show. And you had a Mick Foley come out of retirement after being retired for a week, which I don't think helped anything. And then also, you go into that match, they're trying to build the Big Show. The Big Show, that match goes 35 minutes, I bet. I don't know off the top of my head, but I bet it does. Big Show was eliminated in less than 6 minutes. That's crazy. WrestleMania X7. That's up there. None of the 20s. Maybe 30. 31 was good. Well, let me rephrase that. Seth Rollins saved that WrestleMania. That one was actually aiming to be a stinker. So I'll do 4, 19, and 17. I would say are my top 3. Great American Bass. 89 Sid was treated like a baby face by the absolutely. Again, it's when Sid debuts in WCW, they're like, hey, look at this big badass asshole team of Danny Spivey and Sid. And the crowd's like, nope, love the blonde guy. Danny Spivey can fuck off. Like it was instant. They love Sid. Darren Staley, Marine. Thank you for your service, sir. So, by the way, there is an unwritten rule against service members, and I need everyone who's not a service member to understand this. I can talk shit to Darren because he was in the Marines. Darren is allowed to talk shit to me because I was in the Air Force. You are not allowed to talk shit to either one of us because of our service. That's just how that works. One day, when we're in a different stream, I'll tell you Dad's chopper story. Oh, he's not a Marine. Well, God damn it. Definition of Andre Hogan at WrestleMania 4 still doesn't make any sense. It should not have been a double disqualification after one guy cheats in front of the referee and the other guy should win. Well, the issue is, so this is an interesting topic. The issue you have with that is if either one of those guys makes it any farther in the tournament, they have to beat either Savage or DiBiase. Now, personally, I wouldn't have mind seeing Savage beat Andre instead. But here's the problem, and WWF also realizes too, Andre by 88 already can't move. So Andre wasn't what he once was. But you had this rivalry brewing from WrestleMania 3 and then Saturday night's the main event with, again, the greatest match-ending angle of all time, the twin referees. You had to blow it off. But Andre can't do Andre things. So the only way to do it is you have to double DQ him. And then Savage wins the title, and then we just kind of move on from... I mean, you had DiBiase and Andre against the Mega Powers. But again, that was... DiBiase's doing the majority work in those matches. It's not Andre. So I get why they did it. It was kind of cheap. And maybe they didn't consider the mechanisms of how we got there the best, but I understand why they did what they did. Let's do one more, and then we're going to wrap up not only the show this week, we're going to wrap up Super WrestleMania, and I got to be honest with you, I'm not upset about it. And again, we've been talking about this whole show. I like this game. I think these acclaimed games of this era don't get their fair shake. But when you play for 3 weeks and there's nothing to strive for or achieve, it gets a little boring. So we got NES Pro Wrestling coming up next week. But by the way, I had to buy more hardware to be able to play NES Pro Wrestling here on the computer. I had to buy an RF to an HDMI adapter, which was $34, because obviously nobody watches coax cable anymore. So this is what I do to entertain and hang out with you guys. Is I have to buy shit. Not that I'm upset. I did just recently get an Xbox 360. So we can go back to actually, we just had this conversation. If it wasn't last week, it was the week before. We can go back and play, the last couple WWE 2K games, Raw versus SmackDown, and then the introduction to WWE 2K, which I said that before. I meant WWE 13 and 14 is what I meant. And then you get 2K in 15. So that will not be on the next poll, but they will be coming soon. We just opened up a whole nother avenue, a lot of video games there in the Xbox 360 pipeline. I love doing this show so much. Like, I would happily buy hardware to do every show. If it means I get to just play video games and talk wrestling, hang out with you guys, I'll do it every week. I love it. I love it. I love having to go and find these games. It's like a treasure hunt. And listen, like it's not good. I'll show you in a minute. It's not good enough to just have the game. I want the box if I can get it. I want the instruction manual. And if they have a strategy guide, I want that too. So we got NES Pro Wrestling. And again, we'll go over this more next week when we get into pro wrestling, which again, next week will be at a normal time, Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. But the week after that, so week 2 of NES Pro Wrestling, that will be a Saturday night show because I'm covering afternoons after my midnight shift is over. Maybe we'll do a Saturday afternoon. I don't know. It depends if we decide to do this Legends. Let's rethink this every week or every other week. We're still kind of figure that part out. Typhoon whipping Macho Man's ass. And we always talk about the biggest what ifs in wrestling, which I love those. But we always like no one ever mentions like the biggest like thank gods. And I would think Sheik Typhoon has to be up there towards the top as the biggest, like, oh, thank Jesus that never happened. Typhoon beats the shit out of Randy Savage. So let's see what we got in the comments before we wrap up. Agree or disagree with this statement? Greatest streak of WrestleMania is 3, 4, 5, and 6. I mean, I think the only other one that's close is 15 through 20. So yeah, I would say this is accurate. Greatest streak of WrestleMania is just 3 through 6. I would agree with that. I never served with the family I grew up in like they all did, so I got grandfathered into some of the jokes just because I'm more sharing their shit, not mine. I'm pretty unimpeachable on veterans. I reserve the right to give you a lot of shit for a lot of things, but I always say thank you for, and God bless for you and your service to this country. Thank you very much, Willie. Also, Dad said when he gets out of his assisted living place, he will come on Drunkard Pop. I'd love to have him. Even if it's just for a segment, I'd love to have him. Do you have World Championship Wrestling for NES? I always get to the last opponent, but I never could beat the final boss, which was obviously Honor the Giant in a mask, and I've seen it done online. So hold on. Let's for one last time, Howard Finkel, good night. I do have WCW Wrestling for NES. So yes, Legion of Doom's on the cover. That game is coming eventually. But we have NES Pro Wrestling coming up next week. Boom, there it is. And not only do I have the game, ladies and gents, we have the instruction manual. So there will be no getting lost on this next week. So Pro Wrestling for NES next week. My RF adapter should be coming in tomorrow. So I will be testing that immediately. And then, of course, again, on week 2 of NES Pro Wrestling, we are going to do the next poll for the next block of 4 games, specifically what order we're going to play them in. So those 4 games are going to be WCW NWO Revenge for N64. We're going to do In Your House for Sega Saturn. Not only have I never played that game, I've never played a Sega Saturn. So I'm pretty excited about that one. Royal Rumble for Dreamcast is going to be number 3. And then number 4 is Tag Team Wrestling for NES, which Efren demanded that be on the next poll because apparently it is just atrocious. Which I bet playing that game for 3 weeks is going to be a riot. If it's really that bad, it may only last a week because I'm not going to torture myself. So we'll say, what would be a good sort of a backup game to throw in there. Maybe we'll do like Legends. Maybe I'll throw in Legends of Wrestling for GameCube. So maybe we can do Tag Team of Wrestling / Legends of Wrestling for GameCube. Maybe we can do that. I like how that sounds. Again, thank you everyone for being in the chat. And, you know, I love doing this show every week. I love coming on. I get to talk wrestling with you guys. I get to play video games, literally two of my favorite things. And thank you guys for hanging out and making this what it's been so far. I appreciate it. Tell your friends if they're into wrestling or video games or both. We got a one-stop shop right here on Mark Out Moments, which, by the way, before we head out, of course, you need to go to YouTube / Mark Out Moments, where you're going to get this show. You're going to get Drunken Pop, Talking Wrestling with Pongwater and Amy, TNA Top 10, our golf game, you know, that we're still in the works on doing, but we're in the process of putting it together. That's going to be on there. Portland Wrestling essentially eventually is going to come on. We do Mid-South shows. We do world-class shows. We do name it. We're going to do it. Especially if you, the viewing public, ask for it. So, with all that being said, would love to see WWF arcade games. If I ever buy a WWF arcade game and there's a way to stream it, brother, it's going to happen. I can promise you that. But for now, that is all for this week on Bashing the Buttons. Again, thank you everyone for being here. We will see you next week for week 1 of NES Pro Wrestling for original Nintendo. You know, we say this Acclaim series was kind of the genesis of when the wrestling games kind of became mainstream. NES Pro Wrestling is the big bang. This is the beginning. So I'm very excited for that. And again, we'll see you next week, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here, YouTube, X, Facebook, all of the Mark Out Moments accounts. And we will see you then. Good night, everybody.